Hi everyone, this is Nina Perlove, and today I wanted to tell you about a very special project that I've been working on for some time that is a document to the teacher who I studied with, who was very influential on my playing, Alain Marion, who is a famous French flutist who I studied with in the mid-90s when I was a Fulbright scholar and I lived in Paris, France for 2 years. Alain Marion, if you don't know who he is, you should definitely check out some of his recordings. He's an absolute master of playing with expression and playing with the very beautiful French colors. And I was very fortunate to have 2 years to study with him. I also studied while I was in France with Sophie Cherrier, who was one of his students. And Alain Marion's students are successful and highly regarded flute players all over the world. So it was truly a pleasure for me to be able to study with him. And I knew that when I was studying with him. So I frequently recorded my flute lessons with him on an old cassette player. Now, some of you might not even know what a cassette player is, but in the olden days when I was a flute student, we didn't have mini disc players yet or digital machines, so we recorded on cassette tapes. And I frequently would record my lessons with him so that I could listen back to them and to continue to learn from those lessons. Now, in 1998, Alain Marion died unexpectedly, and I really didn't have the heart to listen to those recordings. So I kept them in a box for a little over about 10 years. And at some point, when it was approaching the 10th year anniversary of his death, I decided I wanted to see what was on those tapes. So I took them out and I gave a listen, and what I realized was that these were a remarkable recording of his teaching methods and philosophies, and that they were really very, very beautiful document, and that I shouldn't keep them in a shoebox in my basement anymore. What I really need to do was to share them with the world and with all of you. So I've spent the last few years going through some of these recordings. I haven't made it through all of them yet. And I have been transcribing them and translating them so that they are both in English and in French. And our lessons frequently went back and forth between English and French, as you'll hear from the recordings. And I also have written some articles which describe what I think the genius of his teaching method was. And those articles have been published and are also available on my website. So what I would really love for you to do, and I think you will find it a great use of your time, is to direct you to the page on my website where you can read my articles about Alain Marion as a teacher, and also listen to the recordings where you can hear from him in his own voice and see for yourselves what the magic was of his teaching. So please go to my website, www.realfluteproject.com, and click the button for Learn, and in that section you will see a button for the Alain Marion project. Now, I call this project Expressive Teaching because we hear a lot about the importance as players of playing expressively. But one of the things that I learned from Alain Marion was not only how important it is to try to be expressive in my playing, but how important it is to try to be expressive as a teacher so that my students can become expressive players. And that was so much a part of Alain's teaching. He was an expressive teacher. And I wish so much that I could be even a fraction of the expressive teacher that he was. And I have to tell you, listening back to these recordings years later was really a very moving experience because, I mean, first of all, it's like I can close my eyes and I'm back in that room with him. I mean, I remember where he was standing when he said certain things to me, and it's very vivid. So I really started to remember in a very intense way all the things that he taught me. And I started to think about things that I had forgotten and was able to bring back into my playing again. And I hope that you will have a similar experience listening to these recordings. When you listen to the recordings, I do encourage you to follow along with the transcriptions because it can be hard to hear and hard to understand what is being said. and take some time to enjoy them, and please tell me what you think. I really think this is an important project. It's a wonderful way for me to pay tribute to my flute teacher who gave me so much, and I'm hoping that I can continue his legacy any way that I can.